welcome back to another episode, another podcast of Improvement Island, your mind's getaway. This week, we're going to talk about focus. Focus is the center of activity or interest, and that can, layer a lot of different ways within your life. And today, we want to kind of discuss, what do we focus on? How do we maintain our focus? How do we eliminate distractions? And, a little bit of, almost decision fatigue or having to make too many decisions because you have too much input and too many variables. And I have my co-hosts, Colin Davino and Trent Buckley here with us today. They're both co-founders with Improvement Island, long-term buddies, and excited to have this little podcast with them again today as our weekly routine goes on. So the past few weeks, you guys have kind of, watched me move into a house. We've talked several times, and you've seen my life kind of change over the few weeks. So I'm kind of taking the spotlight for a second. But this is a big decision of why I wanted to have this talk this week. Was my focus has changed dramatically, and I almost don't know what to focus on right now because there's so much input going into my life. Because I went from living, all-inclusive at resorts in Mexico, not having to buy groceries, not having to cook, not having to clean, not having to make my bed, not having to drive a car to the gym or anywhere, not having to deal with traffic. The list goes on and on and on. I had so much free time in my day to focus on, myself internally, focus on, my business, which was the main factor that I wanted to be, overseas, living at all-inclusive resorts, so I can eliminate a lot of the decisions that I have to do throughout the day, along with a lot of the chores and a lot of, just downtime or admin time or time just, spent driving and time that's not, necessarily 100% productive and positive and constructive for myself at that time with what I wanted to focus on. So, kind of with talking about all that, what was my methodology? Well, like I just said, it was to, have a lot of time because my focus was on my business and I was wanting to move my business forward. I was wanting to, put together standard operating procedures and bring in some, additional staff to help, duplicate myself and remove myself from the business. So I had more time to focus on what I want to focus on. So to bring this to Colin real quick, kind of with, me talking the last few minutes about, focus and, eliminating distractions and so forth. What are some of your main, focal points in your life right now? And what are some of the distractions that you deal with?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Quaid, another definition of focus is actually the state or quality of having or producing clear visual definition. Much of this talk is going to be focused on when the inner focus with human beings, as well as just being adaptable. Quaid, with your house, you had the decision to jump into a home. That's what you decided to do. When you're able to see a clear pathway of what your decisions are, you then are able to then have some power and clarity in what needs to be focused on. For example, what I want to bring up is when I know we all have done this where we're on the highway or the freeway, and when we're driving, we look over to the left or the right and you see this glass building. And when you see the glass building, you think it's just absolutely beautiful. And there's very few smudges on the windows. It's just perfectly crystal clear. And I want to go back to the definition is when we have a clear vision of something, we can see what's happens when we make that decision. So maybe, Quaid, the question is maybe we didn't understand exactly what decision we were going into. And because of it, we're having to adapt on the fly and use a lot of time in kind of the learning curve of how to focus on many different things at the same time. What are your thoughts, Trent, on that?
Yeah, the thing that's coming to my mind is, you're talking about Quaid talking about having a house, and all of a sudden you're having to put all this time and energy and effort into getting your house in order, so to speak, literally and otherwise and figuratively. Yeah. And sometimes in life we get, changes in circumstance or, just things around us that kind of change what our focal priorities are. And I think being able to identify and have like a hierarchy of of what you're focusing on, like, okay, this is something that I just need to dial in on, get it taken care of, and then get back to this other thing, the thing that I would prefer to focus on. So yeah, that's just part of life, and having that hierarchy of what we want to devote our attention and focus to, And actually like having that, in our heads is, I think a good way to analyze just our lives and, what we would like to focus on. And Quaid, so you had asked Colin about some of his habits for focus. Would you ask that question again?
Yeah. I was like, what are some of the things that, you focus on, and what are some of the distractions that, you deal with, and how do you deal with them?
Sure. Okay.
So it's kind of like, just prioritizing like you were talking about.
Sure. Yeah. So focus for me is like, I have a few basics, like my business, obviously, work I may do. A lot of times that takes priority. And then I have other things that I focus on, as far as, giving time to attend family, friends, doing things for family, being there for friends. And I think focus, it isn't so difficult for me to like, jump from one thing to another and be focused on it. It's more of just a general state of mind, like an ability to hone in on something and just be on that thing. And I think I think there's some neurobiological factors that, we can all do to be able to focus just in general and make it easy to shift from one thing to another, and eliminate distractions and not be overwhelmed or get fatigued.
Do you think with being able to shift from one thing to one thing so quickly is almost something that's, good, but almost also something that could be a little difficult to handle, just coming from the perspective, say like, imagine me sitting here working throughout the day, and I'm answering this email, and then I get a phone call from this person saying, hey, we've got this fire, we've got to get it put out. And then I'm back over here working on building this operating procedure. And then, I'm getting a text, from so-and-so having to answer this. And then, I've got, maybe a girl calling me up, one thing after another.
Yeah.
I guess, do you believe in like, setting time aside for each thing and being able to, dedicate, a half hour to, strictly only emails? Or do you remain kind of like open with your time and your focus and just adaptively change the priorities as they come and go?
For me personally, I lean toward the latter, just being able to kind of adapt and take things on the fly. And that's just been because, the life path I've chosen to go down, there's not a lot of external structure. I have to create a lot of structure on the fly as I go. But there are still things that I am always going to designate time for, like I'm always going to, I'm always going to make my bed the first thing in the morning. That's a task I'm going to get done. I'm focused on that, So
why you focus on that task? What makes that a priority for you?
That makes a priority for me because I think it's something I like to get tasks completed. So if I have things on my list and I have my things I want to get done, just actually getting something done that day is like, it's a good way to start the day for me.
So you're focusing kind of like on inner focus, where it's kind of like, there's different layers of focus. And this one is focusing on kind of creating like, like a happy mindset, a happy perspective for you, or not even happy, or, like whatever word you may want to insert there, but for yourself.
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't call it happiness exactly, but it kind of just gets me, it's just a simple thing that I can do that gets my mind in a state where I can start to accomplish tasks and stay focused on things. And then when you're talking about, and then a recent practice for me is I try to, do something kind of difficult first thing in the morning and like right after I make my bed. And by the way, that's another good thing, because some people, you struggle. If you've ever just struggled with depression, I know you guys, I don't know that you guys necessarily have, but I've had a history of that. Sometimes you just end up wanting to lay in bed all day. But if you get up and make that B word and you're like, I'm not going to get back in it, kind of is like, you're making sure you're not going to go, and you're giving yourself one little thing that's going to.
It's like a mental note. The bed looks all nice. You don't want to get in and, make it all nice and wrinkly.
It's a little tool I use to discourage myself from getting back in that sucker. So, but then I do, I try to do something a little bit difficult, get my brain juices flowing that is not a novelty behavior. Because if I get up and say, look at, back in the day, it used to be Imager And then, or social media, if I start browsing anything, or just, the internet in general, Reddit, anything that has a high amount of novelty, and it's quick novelty, like it's rapid succession novelty. I feel like that kind of lessens my ability. Like, it takes my attention span and my ability to focus on something and takes it from out here and makes it like this.
Okay.
So if I do some novelty seeking behavior and engage in novelty first thing in the morning, then it just ruins my ability to focus, like, honestly, for the rest of the day.
So you kind of use, getting out of bed to make it as kind of like a tool to, get yourself out of bed quickly enough so you're not on your phone, so you don't, kind of, set your day behind schedule.
So yeah, and then my thing I've been doing recently is I'm practicing. I'm trying to learn German. I'm practicing German.
Okay.
So I have a little routine I do for that, where it's like I'm just practicing I get on Duolingo. I'm gonna, it exhaust all the hearts I got on, making mistakes, or I'm going to reach my daily goal. And I think I'm gonna just get the daily goal knocked out, and that kind of gets the task-oriented ability going. Just made the bed, now I'm doing this.
Right. Okay.
It's me in movement. And yeah, so avoiding novelty is a huge thing for me first thing in the day. And I've seen this, and I think especially young kids who grew up on technology and social media, first thing. And for some people, maybe it's not a problem. They can get up and scroll Instagram, and they're going to be fine the rest of the day. But
no, I completely agree with you, though. That is definitely some downtime in the morning where it's probably not your most productive thing that you should be doing to, set your day off correctly. But I like the idea of, you creating that action step for yourself to kind of like, refocus and bring yourself back in and, set the day right. Setting the day right is one of the most important things. I was just talking to Colin the other day about this. I used to pull, like all-nighters, or, used to work till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I'm no longer doing that. I'm waking up, super early in the morning, getting, the bulk of the dirty work done. And then, getting throughout the day, getting to my phone calls, my messaging, and everything else to where I have time for that. So that kind of brings the question back into view, because I want to talk to you about this, Colin, because I remember in the past we've talked about this before, and I still think you're working on this and you're probably pretty good at it. But it's being able to, prioritize your daily goals and what you want to accomplish. And I think, you have a few meaty things that you always want to make sure that are kind of taken care of. And then you have, a few side kind of like almost like auxiliary ones that, they happen, great. If not, you can reorder it to like the next day. So can you maybe talk about, some of the, prioritization, tools that you've used in the past to help yourself with, goals and accomplishing stuff within the day, and not getting too distracted with, hey, now I've got a phone call. Now this employee needs my help. Now I've got to go help this person out. Oh, I've got to do this. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, no problem. So much of my day is spent in my workplace right now. So I work for EOS Fitness as a general manager, and most of my time that I dedicate in the week, especially, is towards EOS Fitness. So some of the things that I'll do is always review the numbers, right? And making sure that I understand what my numbers are for the day. And you can do the same thing in your own life. You just have to understand what kind of important steps you want to hit for the day, and maybe you prioritize them and put them like a ranking system or whatnot. And the most important things are your big rocks for the day, and the least important things are things that you can shift throughout your day and be like, okay, I can go ahead and put this towards a different time. Or if I don't hit it and I check my list at the end of the day on everything that I got done, if I didn't hit that, that's not a hard thing to just move on for tomorrow or for a weekday type of thing. So again, most of my time during the week is spent towards EOS Fitness and just making sure that we hit the things that we need to get done, and just having everything there for me. Like on my laptop, I'll put them in bookmarks. The important things that I need to see and remember that I need to get done for the day. And I'll just click on my bookmarks and go through them all. And that's one of the tactics that I use. And another thing that I'll do is make sure that I look on what wins did I have for the day? What opportunities did I miss or fail on? And then I'll put targets for my next day that I want to hit and whatnot. And maybe even put some support needed or plans of action that I'm going to get done, and then support needed from whether it's like, okay, I need help from my, regional vice president with this. Or if it's something that has to do with, let's say, this career that we're pursuing here, it would be like, okay, I need to talk to Trent about this, or I need to talk to Quaid about this, or support needed. So just making sure you have some sort of template that you can go with, review your numbers, and then from there, kind of see what your wins were, what opportunities you had, and whatnot.
So that kind of goes on to
Yeah,
what
I
you
like
already
that
said just a little bit ago. Real quick, Trent, then you can hop back in. You were talking about before, having a clear path, and it sounds like, the day before you're setting that clear path with setting goals, setting action steps, setting, attention needed, and so forth. So that's interesting, and you back that up, Trent.
Yeah, and Colin, like you're saying, with tabs and kind of seeing what you do accomplish in a day, and and then you have the things that you don't, and you may have failed at. And another thing is, if you do have some things that you didn't hit in a day, unless it was a deadline that day, so we got to be forgiving of ourselves too.
Oh, yeah.
As we were doing our best, then we got to be like, we got to give ourselves some credit and not be so harsh on ourselves. Because I've done that before, where I'm like, if I don't get everything done, then I'm a failure, and I do some negative filtering. I don't see that 80% of the day was good. I would just focus on the 20% that I messed up. And so with the tabs and everything, I think another excellent tool that I've used is, and Quaid, you've seen me do this actually when we were roommates in Logan, is I will use a whiteboard, or I'll have a literal list of things on a piece of paper that I'll carry in my pocket of things that I want to check off. And it's like, I get that little reward, I get the thing done. Ooh, I get to check it off the list. And then when I'm I've practiced that for long enough to where, I might have a larger list that's written down, but then I have a daily list that I just kind of keep in my head of, okay, this is what needs to be done today, and be to that point. And the thing I wanted to throw in there is, Colin, I think you've always been a really good example to me of someone who kind of gets after it, so to speak. I've always been someone who has like a fairly high level of autonomic arousal. Maybe that's the New Yorker lineage in you, and you're just ready for that fast paced go. And I remember, in high school and even after, I'm just like, man, how does Colin do all this stuff? Like, you were always in motion, and I admired that, because I had issues with, lethargy or slothfulness. And so you were kind of a good example for me in that regard. And now I feel like I'm at a place, because I've, forced myself more out into the world, where I'm like, I feel like I have a more similar state of mind or approach. And I wanted to ask you in specific, like, what does a morning look like for you? Like, what are some of your habits that you kind of go through in the day that get you in motion? Because I think you're just a person who just like has that natural innate ability to be in motion, be moving forward, and kind of getting after it. So, and I think it might be helpful for people to hear what are some of the things that you do that kind of, start you off and keep you going in motion.
Thanks for the comments, Trent. Sincerely, that means a lot. I think it all starts at night, to be super blunt with everybody. It starts with your nightly routines. It's, are you getting yourself ready for when the morning comes, to have the less amount of friction that you can? It's a nonstop thing. It's not something that just starts in the morning. It's at night. Did you audit yourself that day? Did you go through your list, your tactical list, the things that you wanted to check off for the night? Did you sincerely go through that list and work your ass off to get it done? And what happens is the ability to then at that moment go in your list and be adaptable and be able to roll with the punch, but keep moving forward. You roll with the punch, being adaptable, and you keep moving forward, and understanding what sincerely the clear image that you want to see on the other side of the building is. And you're running towards that. You're running towards that clear image. Again, it's all about being able to clean the mirror each and every day. And what you do by cleaning the mirror each and every day is you're auditing your life, and you're cleaning up the things that you need to do better on a daily basis. So again, what I do personally is I look at my list. I look at my calendar. I see if I got those things done. And then after I do that, I'll write down, what were my wins for the day? What are my opportunities for the day? And this is in all sectors of my life that I'm focusing on. I put them all down in the same list. And then what opportunities did I fail at, and why did I do that? And then from there, I set targets for the next day. I then put plans of action and things I need to get done and next steps to those plans of action. Like, what is the immediate thing I need to do in order to make that plan start moving forward? And then I'll put down the support needed. That's literally the formula, is what support is needed. And if that support's needed, I start my messaging. I communicate to the people that I need to communicate with, and I communicate to my brain and say, okay, you can shut off now. And I wake up in the morning and I have my own rituals as well that I do. So.
Yeah, I feel like you're a very like now person. Like, you think of something, you do it now, you know, or like you need to shoot someone a text, you do it now, you know. You don't go, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll take care of this, you know. Like, when you have things, you do things now. And I think where a trap that a lot of people can fall into, including myself, is you go, I don't feel like doing this now, I'll do it later. And then I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes next week. And then next week becomes 2 months down the route, you know, the line. So I feel like you also have the practice of like, you do things in the like now, you know, like you don't wait.
So that has to do with just stimulus. It's your ability to see something that comes in, you get a message, and you need to know what to do with that message. Now, Trent, the truth is there are a lot of things that I hold off on, but I put them in my task list. Any thought that comes to my brain that I know is going to benefit me for future state, I'll throw it on a task list. And my task list, most of the time I'm at work, right? So I have a work task list that has to do with anything to do with sales, operations, personal training, any type of future state forecasting meetings that we have, any type of succession planning that we're trying to go through, any of that type of stuff, I have my work task list. Then for life, I have a task list as well. And I do the same thing with my calendars. I have a work calendar, I have a life calendar. And my task lists have to do with certain things like what I want on my future state house, what I want on, you know, make sure that Ziad and I, like a certain event that's going on that we have to go to, or we have to get an Airbnb in Colorado here in June for somebody's wedding. Things like that I put on task lists where I know I don't have to do it maybe this very, very second, but because I've conditioned and kind of grooved my brain to work in a sense of I'm going to look in my task list every so often. What happens is I can keep seeing it, and it makes it super easy to remember and know, okay, now it's time to focus on that. So does that answer your question?
It does, but I do think that is included in your practice of doing things now. So, oh, this is a task that I need to do when I go to Denver in June. Okay, I'm gonna that task in right now, because I think sometimes people are, you know, we can fall into the pit of like, oh, I'll make the note later, you know, and that's just,
you're right.
You know, that's what I'm talking about, you know, more in specific. And another thing that you brought up, and I've found this myself, and I've just done it naturally at times when I was using whiteboards or, you know, coming up with, you know, actual physical paper lists of things. And also let's mention, I think we both use a similar app for our task lists. Is it OneNote? Is that what it is?
No, it's actually, I don't use that one anymore. I actually use a To-Do for Microsoft, and then I have just Google Tasks. So just like the Google Tasks as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I actually use,
you must be going on your phone. There you go.
I was actually looking what it is. It's Keep Notes. That's what I use.
Nice.
As a good one. If anyone wants that tool, and it'll back up to your, you know, your Google and stuff. So you won't lose it if your phone goes haywire.
Yeah.
So doing things the night before is, and I've been talking about this with my nieces, because it's something I've struggled with, is, you know, I feel like morning Trent isn't as trustworthy as last night, like night Trent, you know? Trent will be like, oh, I'm groggy. Oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, I'm, you know, I'll come up with excuses, or I'm tired. But if I write it all down, you know, the night before, and I have my regimen or the things I'm going to do written down the night before, then morning Trent can just go on kind of like autopilot mode for, you know, if I'm feeling, you know, groggy or just feeling rough for whatever reason, and just start getting after that list that I came up with the night before. So making the lists and going over your stuff the night before is very important, you know, as compared to maybe doing it in the morning, because, you know, our morning selves aren't always as reliable. You
So
know,
making a list and checking it twice is super important.
That is true. That is true.
No, but seriously, like I think, and I want to hit on this and really reiterate it because I see so many people, including myself, so many times. This is where they fell, and it's just like what you're saying, Colin. Frictionless. You know, to be frictionless, you need to be prepared, and you prepare yourself either the night before, the week before, a year before, 5 years before, 10 years before, 50 years before. You need to be, preparing for certain events in your life. Before then. You don't start saving for retirement when you're 60. It doesn't work like that. You start saving for retirement the second you start, breathing, the second you start making money of any type, you need to start saving. So I think it's, very important to understand that, to take care of a lot of focus and to handle a lot of those tasks, being prepared for those tasks is almost, one of the most important things, kind of back all it up to be able to handle all of it and to run all of that. So I think that's definitely a really smart habitual thing that you kind of built yourself around. It's just, being proactive and planning to be successful instead of failing to plan, which is, just planning to fail essentially.
sure.
Yeah.
So
And what's cool about it is it's not a talent, guys. It's a skill. I developed this thing. So what I would love for the listeners to do, that anyone that is listening out there, is sincerely take some time tonight and write down your goals, write down the things that you want to accomplish. And the best days that I've seen are on like Sunday nights. Take some time to write down what the hell you want to do for the week. What are you trying to accomplish? Hey, how about on Sunday, the Sunday before the first of the month, you write down what you want to accomplish the next month. Like planning ahead and at least creating a vision just helps it so you can see inside of that building. It cleans off the mirrors, is seeing your vision, and literally just look out your window and see if your mirrors are too dirty right now and you can't even see what's going on. Go ahead and clean that mirror by actually taking some time to decide where you're at in life and where you want to be. Just create a quick vision board or a quick just what you want to accomplish even for the day.
Yeah, having that place you want to be at in the future, and actually having like an image in your mind or an actual image board, if that's what you're into, it just sets it out there, your intentions, I guess, and then you kind of find as you go what is going to get you to that, which will be adjustable. There might be some basics that you need to do, but then there's things that you're going to have to come up with the path to get there. So but having the vision is totally necessary.
Well, it's just like you need those two tools to kind of use as measurements or to use as guides for yourself. One is just knowing the vision. So what is your why? What's your goal? What's something we can focus on? And then two, being able to just clearly move forward because you're prepared to go down that path. So preparedness and just understanding what your goal is, what your why is, and what the end achievement is very important. Do you think it though is do you think some people trick themselves? And I ask this because, I do this to myself sometimes. I don't mean to, but it's just something I get caught up in, is I trick myself thinking that I'm being super productive, moving forward and making a lot of progress. But in reality, I'm just stuck doing a lot of admin tasks that, is getting me nowhere. So, focus is being able to focus, not necessarily just on all the tasks you have at hand, but the tasks that, are going to mainly be moving you forward. And these are your income producing activities. So, what are you doing on a daily business to, bring new business into your business, whether that's, new gym signups, whether that's, another client for consulting, whether that's another, well you're going to drill, whether that's, another, project you're going to complete, whether or not it's another research study to understand something within your business. So I think it's, super important to, not get caught up in all the admin tasks of life and confuse that with, being productive, being,
sure,
beneficial to yourself, to the team, and to your own business. So I don't know if you guys, either one of you have thoughts.
I like that a lot because, I do think we can get into modes where you can be very busy, but you're actually accomplishing.
It's your most unproductive day. My most busy days are usually my most unproductive days, where I'm like, I got a lot of stuff done, but the business didn't move anywhere.
It's kind of like doing busy work in high school, where you get an assignment where you're like, this is just busy work. Like, I'm not learning anything here. But, I feel like life has some of those things that are just unavoidable, where it's just like, it is busy, but it it feels like busy work, but it actually is, productive. It can't productive in a sense. It might not be putting dollars in your pocket or helping you pay your mortgage, but it is a life essential. And some of those type of things can be unavoidable. But yeah, if we can focus on the things and spend more time on things that are actually productive, hitting sales goals, finding new clients, expanding your business, trying to
I
make
kind of get I
whatever.
get addicted to the achievement drug. So kind of like what you had talked about, Trent, already. You get up in the morning and you make your bed, and it's just a sense of achievement. I sometimes get that with really small tasks, and I make myself feel really good, thinking, I've accomplished all this. But in reality, I was just taking a junk drug. I was just doing junk stuff just to make myself feel good.
Yeah, but at the same time, sorry, Colin, were you gonna say something?
The great Denzel Washington himself, during a commencement speech, said, "Do not confuse movement with progress. Just because you're on a treadmill doesn't mean you're going nowhere fast. You might be running really quickly, but you ain't going anywhere, brothers." Here's the thing. Remember, Trent, we talked about this as well. Elon Musk, one of the greatest inventors, creators of our generation, of our time in history. Elon Musk said, if it doesn't align with Mars, I ain't doing it. Right? So is the end goal being achieved by me doing this task right now? And if it's not, then I'm probably doing some busy work. So Quaid, your question is, well, I get caught up with the admin work. I get caught up with that. Guess what? You actually need to know the admin work to make sure it's getting done right. In order for you to be a coach, you need to know that that's getting done right, or you trust someone so much and you've duplicated yourself so much that you don't even need to touch that department because that trust is there, type of thing. And you still should know it. So in the end, is this getting me closer to the outcome that I'm trying to accomplish? And if it is, then this is a good task. If it's not, push it to the side and delegate that thing for someone else.
Well, the thing is, and kind of what I want to, get closer to, wrapping this call up with is, having laser-like focus in one specific direction with one specific task, with one skill set, and becoming insanely good at it, and then moving on. So, that's where sometimes I get caught at, is I'm insanely good at a lot of different things, but guess what? I continually have to run all those things because I haven't handed it off. I haven't delegated it. I haven't moved it on so I can move on to the next thing that I need to, master. But what I think, a lot of people get caught up in is, handling everything. And I think, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that wants to, even progress, even within their job or their own skill set or anything that they're currently working at, is become insanely good at that one thing, and everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will fall into place. But if you don't have that one really good skill set that, is pushing you forward, is bringing in, the activity that's bringing in the clients, that's bringing in whatever, then, what is everything else then at that point?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
I think it does. And, but I do agree with Colin that there are some little things that you still have to do. And it does feel like the busy work, but it is accomplishing something. And that's why I like the bed making thing. It's like, I think it's better to get that little dopamine hit for making my bed and accomplishing something than scrolling on Instagram and getting, 40 dopamine hits from seeing 40 new things, and kind of setting a bad precedent for my reward circuitry for that day. And
completely.
That brings up something else I was wanting to mention with you guys is, if I could address some things for people who, like myself, can struggle with just autonomic arousal in general and being able to focus. There are some things that, can be done to help that. And so there's the basics, like get enough sleep, exercise and nutrition. But if you want to kind of, kick it up a notch, if you exercise in the morning, that kind of gets your, your focus.
100% agreed.
Focus neuro, modulators flowing, like acetylcholine and, epinephrine or adrenaline. So, and those are required to focus. Like that's what focus is, are those things. So when you do something like exercise in the morning, it gets you in that state. Another one is, and I did this a lot as a kid, and then I was just I was too weak to do it for a long time. That's have a cold shower, which I'm getting back into. But in the morning, especially in the morning, if I need a little bit of a boost for alertness, then I'll have like maybe a warm shower, and then at the end, I'm going to turn it as cold as it will go, and then I'm going to stand under that sucker, and I'm going to make sure that that cold water hits every part of my body. And then when I get out of the shower, I'm just like, whew,
Let's go. Game time.
And I've even done that at night when I want to, I'm going out or doing something and I need to clean up. So at the end of the shower, I just turn it to cold, and it gets you
up.
You breathe like that. And there's also breathing exercises you can do. Andrew Huberman's talked about some where you do like these quick rapid breaths in succession, like 25 breaths, breathe out, and then let that sit for 15 seconds with no breath. Do another 25 to 30 breaths, quick breath, and then breathe out 15 seconds, do another set. So your third set of 25 to 30 breaths, and then you breathe in and hold it for 30 seconds. And, I couldn't explain to you all the, circuitry and, what that does, but that will stimulate some adrenaline and acetylcholine flow in your brain, and kind of getting you into a more alert state. And of course, there's things like, caffeine or,
a lot of stimulus there.
Nicotine, it kind of acts, it interacts with your, I think the receptors that acetylcholine does, which are the nicotinic receptors, I believe, which is interesting that that's what the actual receptor name is for acetylcholine. But that can be tricky because you don't want to get yourself, too wired up with, caffeine that's, exciting your, nervous system and blocking the adenosine that might be building up, and which makes you tired throughout the day. Adenosine is what builds up in your body and in your mind throughout the day that starts to make you tired. Caffeine will block those receptors, so the adenosine isn't making you tired. And then, the nicotine, that's just like I said, it's acetylcholine, but you don't want to become reliant on those things. So I'd say for people who struggle with, any kind of autonomic arousal, wakefulness, ability to focus, those are just some little, I don't want to call them tricks because they're just, they're based in physiology and biology, but they're things that you can do to get yourself into a state of alertness and focus.
Sweet. Thanks for that, Trent.
That's good. But to kind of wrap this up, I know we're running short on time and coming to an end right here, but I think it's important to reiterate just a few things that we've kind of talked about. Bless you, Colin. But a few things that we've talked about, focus can be very difficult because sometimes, we can trick ourselves into focusing, but we're focusing on the wrong things. So, from a very high level degree is, know your why and know your goal. What are you trying to accomplish? And make sure whatever tasks you're doing are moving you towards that goal and not just creating, just busy work for yourself to feel good, just that you're doing work, because that's not what we're out here to do. We're out here to grow. We're out here to, produce something. So if that's what you're looking to do, set your goals and make sure that you're prepared to hit your goals. Make sure you're doing everything in your power to make sure that, when you wake up in the morning, you know what you're doing and you can execute quickly enough to move you through all the steps you need to get through so you have time to, focus on other things. And one of the big things I want to focus on that helps with focusing is health. This has kind of come up a few times on this call today. But, maintaining your health is one of the biggest factors of, focus of you being able to have out there. So many people think time is your most valuable asset. Time is worthless, completely worthless if you don't have health to live through that time. So, I believe in, health is wealth. Health is everything. So when I wake up in the morning, just like what you already mentioned, I get up, I get out of bed, I make my bed, I come up here to my third story. I'm just out here on my sun balcony right here, and I do morning stretches, I do morning push-ups, I do morning squats, I do one-legged squats, I do crunches, I roll through a whole bunch of these, like floor routines or just body weight routine, and that just gets me going for the day. It gets the body chemicals flowing, it gets me feeling good, and it helps me focus on stuff. So I appreciate, having this discussion with you guys today. Today's been an awesome podcast. I hope our listeners, all walked away with some knowledgeable steps that they could use to help themselves with focus, help themselves within their business, help themselves within their personal life, whatever they may be working on. I hope you guys took it away. If anybody's listening, we're on tons of social media. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. Make sure you reach out to us with any discussion topics you may want us to bring up on future podcasts. You can find us under the handle Improvement Island. It has a little palm tree, so make sure you look for the palm tree. A lot of imposters out there, so don't click on any of those. But I hope you guys enjoyed this phone call. And once again, I've enjoyed having you two on this and look forward to our next podcast.
Awesome. See you guys.
Sounds great. It's good, fellas.